Hi, this is Stuart Nakbar with Educated Quest. I'm back virtually to talk with Jennifer Pearce. She is the Vice President for Enrollment Management and External Affairs at Emory and Henry College in Emory, Virginia. Emory and Henry has always been one of the colleges that change lives. And like most of these 40 schools, the colleges that change lives tend to take a student who may not have the perfect academic record, perfect 4.0s, 1600 SATs, but they take a good student, and those students typically come out a lot better than they came in and a lot very enriched academically. And Emory and Henry has been one of those schools for a long time. It is in Virginia. It is not far from the Tennessee border. If you are a music fan or a NASCAR fan, it is close to Bristol, Tennessee, where a big football game was played at one time. I think Virginia Tech played football out there on the racetrack.
They did, yeah.
Jennifer, thank you for joining me today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, Emory and Henry is going through some changes. I did a little homework, and I've seen like some new offerings. There are things in the health professions. There are things in education. And they're typically things I don't see at tied to a liberal arts college. What has led Emory and Henry to add these programs?
Yeah. Well, Emory and Henry has had a long tradition of liberal arts and an excellent alumni base, and all sorts of alumni all across the country and the world, moving into business and different professions. And as the competition continues to grow with liberal arts schools, and again, our region in Southwest Virginia and the beautiful mountains here in Jefferson National Forest, we realized that we wanted to be a college that was going to thrive through all the changes that are going on in higher ed, thrive throughout the pandemic by working our strategic plan. And we were really listening to our students who were coming in for tours and for interviews on what they really wanted from Emory and Henry. And as a result, this year we just launched a School of Nursing program, as well as a new School of Business program with new concentrations in entrepreneurship, leadership, data analytics. Coming out of that, we heard a lot on data analytics, cybersecurity, moving down that path. And we've also started a new clinical mental health counseling program. We know with the pandemic and again, just the way our world is working right now, there's a lot of needs for mental health and mental wellness. So we're addressing that on a graduate level. And 2 years ago, we brought on engineering science, and that has been a fantastic program that was created and formed by our physics professor, who worked with her colleagues to realize how we could do a general engineering science, and that's been well received as well. So we want to be a college that's thriving, using that liberal arts foundation as a base, no matter what you go and do, and have an eye on that world of work and what the outcomes are going to be and where you're going to be when you leave Emory and Henry. So we've also invested mightily in a new career and professional development center. We had a generous donor from the Netherlands, Mr. John van Vlissingen, who's an entrepreneur and businessman in Atlanta, Georgia, who was friends of one of our board of trustees, and he just fell in love with our college. He said, I want to help. How can I help? And we said, we need to invest in a career center. He's like, let me put some money toward that. So we have a staff of 6 folks who start working with our students. They meet them during orientation. They meet them during welcome week. They start with classes their freshman year, and they work with them so they are career ready all the way through those 4 years and prepared for graduate school if that's the desire of the students. So we're really becoming more well-rounded, just what liberal arts were intended. We're doing that as a college, and we're getting some great feedback. So as we've talked about, and as we've mentioned on our website, we have record-breaking enrollment this year, up 63% over last year. So I think what we're offering is resonating, and students are very excited to think about coming to Emory and Henry.
Now, you touched on something a moment ago, that the Career Development Center starts working with freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
What other things have been added to a freshman experience and a sophomore experience that will help them be better prepared to declare one of these majors, like the engineering science program, or to be
Yeah.
admitted to an advanced degree program?
Yeah. So in conjunction with our Career Center, we've also started a Center for Student Success. And this year we added success coaches and new advising coaches. And we've divided our advising and coaches by the sciences and arts and humanity, and then the hard sciences, to meet with and sit down and talk about what those professions might be, what the pathways might be, and to do some discernment. And so there's a lot of assessment tests and models that we have through the Career Center, just as well as dialogue and interest to get involved. We have a health sciences group, for instance, that students can get involved with to learn about what health science professions look like, from exercise science to athletic training, to move into our graduate programs for physical therapy, occupational therapy, physician's assistant, and now clinical mental health. So we've always been strong in sciences. We've got an excellent biology and chemistry program, new pre-health and exercise science programs. And so trying to figure out what that pathway looks like, as well as early assurance, particularly for our physical therapy program. Because we do want to get everybody situated and on the right track, and not looking back after 4 years thinking, now what am I going to do?
Do you believe over time this will change a freshman class in terms of their academic interests?
I don't think so. I think students who come to Emory and Henry are very curious, and we're fortunate that we have the ampersand in our name. And we like to think of that you can major and study your passions and what interests you all the time, while it's okay to go ahead and study religion or art, or be in the theater program, or sing in the choir, or be in our marching band. Explore the outdoor opportunities that we have here. They're just literally off the hook on everything that you could do from the outdoor region. And we want, college is a time of exploration, and you want to have that fun. You don't want to look back and say, why didn't I study this language? Or why didn't I take more on non-Western religions? Or why didn't I think about statistics a little bit more? Because that probably would have helped my communications studies. And so again, we think it'll be more icing on the cake, if you will, to kind of get those professions built, and particularly help serve our region, as well as the country.
Now, are students admitted to the college or a major?
They're admitted to the college. Nursing, they would be admitted to the major their sophomore year, and that's a great question. And that's the only one where you would have to take a test to go into the nursing program your sophomore year.
And could someone be, let's say, prep for physical therapy or a PA and maybe major in something totally different? They might major in English or economics or religion, or is it like a core and you pretty much, those subjects might have to be a minor?
I would imagine those subjects would need to be a minor, because there's no cohort built into those programs at this time. But sitting down with the advisors, you would definitely want to knock off the classes that you would need as prerequisites to go into those programs. And those that do go into early assurance with the physical therapy program are following a track toward getting into that program.
Now, I'm an accepted freshman. I deposited. I get a letter so that I can get started at school. Do I have one advisor, or do I have more than one advisor?
Well, this year we're starting off with first year advisors as well as an academic advisor. So you would have two. So someone would work with you on your academic pursuits. The first year advisor, success coach, would work on being inclusive and belonging as well, and knowing if you are putting up some red flags and say, I think I need some tutoring, or I'm not that strong in math, I think I might need a little extra help, or I have a disability and I'm going to need some extra services. And that's kind of like that connection that we're trying to make early on to help with retention. So retention is one thing to always keep your mind on, and we want to stay engaged with students all the way through their 4-year experience with us to make sure that that they're being successful and that they're having the outcome that they want. and that they expected as a family for the investment that they're making.
You mentioned that there was a generous donor in Atlanta who helped with the Career Development Center to
Mhm.
get that going. Um, was there a lot of support to add these programs because they weren't there before? And you're building a health science campus and a new business school building, renovating a building. Did the resources come as the result of the college administration finding donors, or did they raise the money from smaller donors?
You're exactly right. They came from donors, and that was part of the strategic plan with our new president, John Wells, to look at that and to take Carragher, which was a building here from the 1800s. And it had been a dormitory over the years and served other functions over the years. We kept looking at it. It's right in the center of campus, and we thought this would make a perfect building for a school of business. Student interactions, got a big plaza on the back, so there's going to be a lot of events and interactions that can take place too. But he did go to the donors and to the board of trustees who approved it. And actually the board of trustees even did an internal challenge with one another to put forth $100,000 a piece. And I think over 6 of our trustees committed to do so, as well as grants and historic tax grants that we were able to secure for that particular building. And the same had happened with the School of Health Sciences up in Marion, Virginia, which is about 20 miles north of us, to help build that facility as well. And the School of Nursing, donors are being solicited now to help support faculty and program development, because that School of Nursing will be held in the School of Health Sciences in Marion.
Now, do most of your students come from Virginia at the moment?
That's a great question. This year we had 47% of our students from outside of Virginia. We did have about 279 students in Virginia, and 20% of those were from Southwest Virginia, the 15 counties that comprise our part of the region. But we really stretched our legs this year to attract more students from Virginia, because they do have the VTAG grant that comes through with them if they apply for that. It's some extra money off their tuition.
So Virginia allows students to apply a grant to a private college, much like they might for a state school.
Yeah, it's about $4,000, I think, right now.
So you have a lot of competition for students in Virginia. What other schools have your students typically considered, and will that change with new programs?
I think it will change moving forward. And of course, from what we see in the Virginia market specifically, some students like to stay close to home. And so I think if they're wanting to be close to home, it would be Virginia Tech, Bradford, Roanoke, UVA Wise, even ETSU down in Tennessee. I think moving into the SAC conference, the South Atlantic Conference, with D2, we're moving from D3 to D2. That will open up new markets for us. So this year, when we look at where our students came from, obviously Virginia was first in line, followed by North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, and then Maryland and Pennsylvania.
If you send an admissions officer to New Jersey or to the Philadelphia area, what kind of questions do you think they would get that a Virginian or a North Carolinian or a Tennessean might not ask?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to ask our counselors about that one. But primarily, I think mostly it's the region. And the number one question we always get is, there a Chick-fil-A nearby? And I can guarantee, yes, there are 2. So Chick-fil-A and Chipotle's are always at the top in regards to that. But this is a very pleasant community to live in. It's a nurturing community. The folks in Southwest Virginia are very kind and welcoming to our students. And so we're blessed to be in an area where college students are well received. We don't have the big city life that some campuses would have. So some of our students do have to travel a little bit, to get to, larger areas like Knoxville, Asheville, Richmond, some different areas if they, want a bigger city for some entertainment, but it's certainly around.
Do you provide opportunities to go to a larger city if they want to go to a concert or a play or something else?
Yeah, we have some new folks in our student affairs office, and they've started some bus travel, safe bus travel with masks, of course, at this point in time. But taking students to bowling or movie nights or concerts that are in the area. We're full of music here, so not just country music or folk music, but we have Bristol Rhythm and Roots, which is coming up next weekend, which brings in artists from all across the country to perform. Tanya Tucker and others coming in, as well as you mentioned, NASCAR. And so not only do students go and attend, but it's a volunteer opportunity to help Bristol Motor Speedway have students on hand to help volunteer for such a huge event that brings in so many people into the Tri-Cities.
And this area has always been a tourist destination, hasn't it?
It is. Well, we have the tallest mountain in Virginia, in the Jefferson National Forest, White Top Mountain, and Mount Rogers. And there's so much outdoor biking, kayaking, hiking, bouldering, you name it. And so we have a very robust outdoor program here with our students who get engaged. They just went on a whitewater rafting trip last weekend. As one of the new programs we're bringing students in. And then we offer the semester on the Appalachian Trail. And we believe we're the only college in the country that offers this for credit. So we have students who can transfer in their spring year and go on the trail, hike. It takes about 5 to 6 months. They start at the end of February and usually finish in August. And the Appalachian Trail cuts through Damascus, which is literally 10 minutes from our campus. Have a lot of hikers and hiking going on around here.
Is there like an outdoors organization for students to learn things if they didn't know them?
Yeah, it's called the Adventure Club. And so they're taught kayaking skills, hiking skills. We have a bouldering wall indoor that's built to go bouldering, because there's a lot of rocks here to climb. So how to take your pad and your shoes and the proper techniques of bouldering. We also offer classes in fly fishing. There's a lot of trout streams in the area, and so a lot of students learn how to fly fish while they're here. And then they do take trips for hiking, and if they don't want to do the whole trail. So this year we have 4 Emory and Henry students go on the trail, and then we had 4 students from different colleges come in to hike the trail. So they come in for 2 months to get the preparation and the training, the backcountry training, first aid, how to pack your pack. They go out and practice with each other, and then they all take off at the end of February.
You mentioned they get academic credit for the experience.
Mm-hmm.
What department awards the credit at Emory and Henry?
It's a variety right now. So it kind of depends on, it's pretty custom on what the student is studying. So our director of the program, Jim Harrison, who's also an English professor, will work with that student's advisor on their campus to see what their major is and to see if there's credits that could apply to that. For instance, if they're in biology, they might study phenology with plants. My niece just went on the trail. She's a mass communications major, so she did a blogging project and a photography project. We've had students in art who've gone out to do, art renderings of things that they're seeing along the trail to put together a story, creative writing. So there's different areas that can be applicable into their current major. So those credits transfer easily back to their home institution.
Because at first I thought, okay, great, environmental science, I could see it. I could see it quickly for like even some like exercise science, because you have
to, that's one that we haven't really explored.
Now, Emory and Henry is moving into a new sports conference. Will every sport move into that conference?
Yeah, all 26 sports. So it's everything, including we just added wrestling 2 years ago, men and women's wrestling. So that will go, as well as track and field. We have a lot of club teams, particularly rugby, that we're looking at right now that might also transition into a D2 opportunity, and we're adding women's rugby next year. So that's another opportunity that we're looking into. But we've always had a very robust football program at Emory and Henry, and we're very excited to see them succeed within the SAC and bring in some great talent, because we are offering not only merit scholarships, but students now can receive an athletic scholarship per the equivalencies that were allotted in D2 by sport via the coach. Some students, not all students, but some students might be awarded an athletic scholarship.
And do you expect that you might compete with a D1 team to get an athlete?
There could be possibilities where we might, yeah.
Like Longwood, I know is D1 in some sports.
I'm sorry?
Longwood University, I know is D1 in basketball and some other sports.
Yeah. I mean, that gives us the opportunity. So again, the coach has that flexibility to recruit the student that they are looking for, and they would have an allotment of funds for scholarshiping, and they can decide if one particular student is going to get a large amount than other students to bring them in to recruit them. So there is that possibility, certainly, and also transfer. So there's the transfer portal.
Okay.
That students can go into, and we did see an uptake in that this year of students at 4-year institutions who were transferring into Emory and Henry to play a sport.
That's going to be an interesting pathway, particularly for a D2 school down the road, because you'll have someone on a D1 who might be, deep down on the roster who isn't playing, and all of a sudden a D2 school might give them the opportunity to play and to finish their education.
That's right. Yep.
Who would be happiest here? I have my own thoughts, but I really would like to know yours.
A student who is bright and eager to learn and take on new experiences. And they might be someone who's a little shy, or maybe a little introverted, or didn't have the opportunity to do everything they wanted to do in high school, particularly now with the pandemic. But that's willing to kind of inch their way out there and say, I'm going to try this. I'm going to be an explorer, and I'm going to test the waters. And we have that type of vibe on campus that, if you like student government for a year and it's not for you and you want to switch to something else, that's okay. If you test out an education path and you think you want to be a teacher and then decide, that's really not for me, that's okay. So I think it's an adaptable student and an adaptable institution, and very flexible, that you can explore, and it's okay to explore, and you don't have to come in knowing exactly what you want to do, but you can bet your bottom dollar with 80 plus academic majors, minors, programs, tracks, you're going to find the right spot for you. But what are your thoughts based on your research?
I felt that you had to be, I agreed with you in terms of being open to experiences, particularly because you're in a campus where everybody, really has to know the outdoors, even if you just go for a walk. And I felt that you had to be open in terms of culture and programs and entertainment. Because if you only have 1,100 plus students there, everyone has something. They play a sport, they do music, they play music, they might do theater. You kind of all have to watch each other.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go to this. I'm not used to going to this, a dance, or I'm not used to going to a concert, or I've never watched that sport because my high school didn't play it. And you got to kind of be open to go.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. We were just talking about that with rugby the other day. Rugby's it's not that popular in this region, but we do have a lot of students who come to play. We have a lot of football players that like to play. The women are, some are wrestlers, some are equestrian riders. We have a huge equestrian program that we haven't really hit on yet, but there's other things to do, and explore while you're here. And I do think that's a key. We also have a Lyceum program, which I didn't mention, but there are academic opportunities that are offered for music, literature, sciences, various topics. And we do ask students to attend, I think it's 3 per semester during their time here. Again, just to think outside the box, open your mind to something different. And you need a lane, but it's good to get out of your lane. and explore, all sorts of new things.
Well, you're going to have a Division II college football team, and you have marching band scholarships, from what I read. If you took the football team and the marching band, that would make up a pretty significant percentage of a student body at a football game.
Yeah, at the game
At the
itself.
game, at the game itself. Then you have to get
Yeah, well,
fans.
yeah. And you had the cheerleaders, and you had our dance team, and you had our color guard, and you had our ROTC members who always come to raise our flags. So it's a pretty large group, but maybe 200 or so of the 1,115 students, coming in. But we have such fan support. You can't find a place to park. And I couldn't believe our homecomings here. We bring in close to 5,000 to 6,000 people for homecoming. With the alumni coming back, all the members of the community love to support Emory and Henry. The alumni who have stayed in the area, there's more than 5,000. They always come back with their blue and gold gear on, and they're the biggest supporters and cheerleaders that you'll ever see. And we're very, very fortunate to have them nearby and have them be supported, not only with fan support, but internships and shadowships and jobs. And, I don't walk into a business or a meeting or a chamber meeting and not have somebody say, oh, I'm a graduate of Emory and Henry. So it's just nice to have that community feel and to know that you're surrounded by people who are there to support you on and off the field.
Will there be a rivalry that would be sorely missed from going from D3 to D2?
I can't answer that question because I haven't been here long enough. But
Okay.
there are a couple, but I think the biggest rivalry that we'll create will be with UVA Wise, which is probably 40 minutes from our campus. And a lot of students, in the area go there as well. And I think because of the proximity, we'll be able to bring students closer to one another, teams together. Because that was another reason with going to D2. We really had to go all the way across Virginia for a lot of events. And it took time from our students for driving time. I mean, 6 hours, 6 to 7 hours to get to the East Coast and back for golf tournaments or tennis or football. And it was expensive as it related to, hotels and gas and travel. And the SAC conference will be closer for us for competition. And I think we'll see more fans coming in from all the other schools as well. In particular, UVA Wise, where we would do see a rivalry starting to build with them.
That if you're getting 6,000 into a stadium, we're a small school, that's a lot.
Yeah, there won't be any fans for spectator. We're gonna have to build, visitor stands. That's for sure. But people stand around the fences and they stand up on the hillsides and kind of scatter about to get a peek at everything that's going on. And tailgating, of course, is pretty popular.
When prospective students come to visit, what has been the draw that makes them say yes?
Honestly and quickly, it's the beauty of our campus. So this is it's on the historic registrar. And it's just a lovely campus that was built, in the early 1800s. Tons of trees, tons of grass, tons of space, breathing room, beautiful brick sidewalks. It's all well maintained, white fences. It looks like you would want a college to look. We're not around cement. There's no big cities around us. There's no high traffic. You're not going to be hit by a car walking through campus. So it's just picture perfect when it relates to that. I think the second thing, obviously, is the relationships that they have had and their experiences when they're visiting. So we make sure they're visiting with their coach if they're interested in athletics, that they're visiting with a faculty member if they'd like to talk about a specific area. Maybe it is a new school of business. Who is that dean? Is this a place where I want to study? We have top-notch blue and gold ambassadors who are our student ambassadors that give the tours, and we make sure that they're well-versed in various capacities on campus. So if there's a student who specifically wants to talk about our equine program, for instance, and what's it like to be a writer, and what's it like to compete, and what's it like to major in it. We want to make sure we're connecting them with the right people. And I think having that individual attention that one-on-one attention when they're visiting, they walk away with, I've already connected. I've already made this relationship. I know who my faculty might be or who my advisor might be, or I've met a first-year student success coach, and they kind of walked through all the resources I'm going to have when I'm here. So really it's that intimate experience that we're giving them when they do make that visit.
And the high school they came from is typically a public school. That's nothing like your campus setting.
Well, I think the majority of the high schools, there's large high schools, there's small, and, we want to be here for all people. And we do hear from students like, wow, my high school is a little larger than your campus. and that's fine, but again, it's a certain fit, and it's a certain student that if you want to be in a bigger school or mid-sized school, and maybe a lot of people don't know you particularly by your name when you're walking around, that's okay. If you want to have somebody say, hey, Jennifer, how are you today? How's your class going in Mass Comm? Or I saw you on the TV station. I heard you on the radio station, or I saw the article that you printed in the White Top newspaper. We're an engaged campus, and we want to know your name. We want to say hi to you. We want to know if you're not in the class, why weren't you in the class? So it's just that different type of an experience that I think any student from any high school would certainly feel when they visited and realize, yeah, this is for me, or no, this is a little too intimate for me.
This was a good lead into my last question. Given what we've all survived through the past year and a half or so, do you think a community like yours is better prepared to deal with something like this in the future, a pandemic that has caused all the things it's caused?
Yeah, well, I can certainly say from the campus perspective, we were so impressed by our faculty spending on a dime that spring semester on March 13th, when we were told to go home. How were we going to teach hybrid classes? How were we going to be online? How were we going to make the shift immediately? And they really just jumped on board and made it happen. Our students were, okay, whatever Zoom is, I'll be on Zoom, I'll join you, and we'll make this happen. So I do think persevering with each other to get through this pandemic to the point where we are today has been very telling, and telling that Emory and Henry is full of grit and tenacity to make things work. And there are many ways to learn, and we don't need to always think that it has to be in the classroom, nor has it really ever been in the liberal arts platform, really. We're always out exploring hands-on learning, community engagement, service learning. And it was a bump, but it sure was a relief, to bring folks back in. But knowing the importance of vaccinations, knowing the importance of masks, knowing the importance of hand washing and distancing to make this community thrive this fall. So we have a very high vaccination rate within our both communities, with the School of Health Sciences in Marion, with our Emory campus. We also have 3 other campus sites. One is a Bartlett Crow Field Station, 72 acres that's in Glade Spring, coming down the I-81 corridor. We've got the equestrian program that I mentioned with our 21 national championships, which is in Bristol, Virginia. And then we also have a partnership with Barter Theater, which is the only residential theater in Virginia here in Abingdon. So we partner with them for a theater program, and we've just been blessed that all campuses have appreciated the severity of this pandemic and the importance to really step up and still try to reach one another and be with one another and get through it, and know that we'll all persevere.
Emory and Henry is a good example of a small school that is in a very unique community, very isolated, but at the same time is finding a strategy that seems to be working very, very well at attracting new students, attracting new academic options, and becoming a greater asset to its own regional economy. Jennifer, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I've enjoyed being with you and learning about all the good work that you're doing for future students.
Thank you, and have a good day.
Thanks, you too.